Hazbin Hotel has potential. The concept in and of itself, demons trying to redeem themselves and go to heaven, is interesting. But Medrano and her team got too caught up in the lore and adult humor of the show. They got too caught up to truly explore that concept. And even then, some of the lore contradicts itself. It just contradicts what was previously said about the canon. I want the show to succeed. I genuinely hope season 2 has improvements. But for now, it will remain painfully mediocre. And all I can do is hope for the best in the future. I'm back from Austin. I got to see a race, I got to see Max win, hooray! Now let's see what I missed while I was gone. Oh, I forgot season 2 of Hazbin Hotel premieres next week. I only saw like one preview, but I hope this season will be better. Hopefully all of the growing pains of season 1 will be sorted out. I'll hold off on taking a look though until the season ends. It looks like they're doing that week-by-week release thing like last time, and you know what, good for them. I'll watch the season in one go once it's over and see what I think. Oh hey! They revealed the snake's human past, and his human design isn't that terrible. Are they gonna reveal the backstories for some of the other centers this time around? Interesting. Okay, looks like they revealed Alastor's past. Wait, what the fuck is this? That's not how men of color, or even men, dressed in the 1930s. And wait, the appropriation of Haitian voodoo got worse? Why the fuck is he doing voodoo? That's not even what it looks like. It is a... What the... How did this get even worse? What the... Hey guys, it's Flowergothic, and I'm not sure how to put this, but Hazbin Hotel is even worse now. I didn't want it to be. I promise. I genuinely wanted this show to improve. But after watching all of season 2, I was left with disappointment. Not just your standard disappointment, but that disappointment where you're just staring at the wall like, oh, you didn't actually fix much. You doubled down on a lot of your issues and somehow made the parts that used to feel messy but promising actively hurtful. That's not to say it's entirely worse. Some of season 1's problems are fixed. Some of my season 1 criticisms have changed given the new context of this season. There were scenes and songs and characters that I actually enjoyed. But season 2 of Hazbin Hotel has a bevy of issues that make it impossible for me to recommend it. The show keeps trying so hard to be about something real, heavy, but it refuses to put the work in, and as a result just comes off as a juvenile, edgy attempt at saying something profound. So let's break them down, one by one, from Charlie Morningstar to Angel Dust, from this season's main villain to the series punching bag. But first... As always, these are here to pretty much clarify my curatorial intent. Let's go! You may have noticed that the start of this video didn't have the standard content warnings. That's because of the video structure. Since we're going character by character, I didn't think a blanket warning was necessary here. Only a few sections really warrant them, and you'll see why when we get there. Also, like last time, I will not be discussing anything helluva boss related here. While both helluva boss and Hazbin Hotel are part of the Hellaverse, I fucking hate that name, helluva boss has its own characters, world building, and issues that don't really factor into Hazbin's. At least not until that crossover episode they've been hinting at finally happens. If you want to learn more about helluva boss, I recommend friend of the channel, Madeline May. She's done a number of videos on the series that really dive into its problems and why it's, well, Trash, much like Hazbin Hotel. Speaking of, this video is written assuming you saw my first Hazbin video, The Painful Mediocrity of Hazbin Hotel, which covered my thoughts on season 1. You should probably watch that first if you haven't already. And now the rules! In text form this time because I really don't feel like saying it over and over again. Of course, we have to start with our manic pixie demon girl, Charlie Morningstar. When we last checked in on her, she and the hotel denizens pulled an all-out defense against the exterminators from heaven. They held themselves pretty well, but at the cost of the snake's life. But Adam dies. That's cool. Obviously, the angels are pissed, and everyone in hell realizes that you can actually kill angels. Neat! Flash forward to a month later. The hotel is getting a lot of business, with sinners under the assumption that they'll learn how to kill their eternal tormentors. Of course, if you know anything about Charlie, she takes this rather well.
Charlie, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
God, I missed making that joke. But also, why did it take a month for Charlie to clear that up? Now, I get how this misconception came about and why Charlie isn't capitalizing on it. Again, her hotel posse proved that angels can be killed using their own weapons, and sinners will take any chance they get to brutally murder the people genociding them. But Charlie isn't about killing people, and only helped in the angel slaying at the end of season 1 because... Wait, why did she go along with that? In hindsight, it's very out of character, but she was really into the battle. Well, I still have my season 1 notes. Maybe it has an explanation. Charlie was very gung-ho on trying to prove redemption was real up to the penultimate episode. I see, she was in a tough mental state after episode 6. She got talked into war by Alastor, who doesn't give a shit about redemption either way. I guess that makes sense. Here's the thing. Season 2 doesn't treat Charlie's killing of angels as some kind of complicated event she has to process. Sure, it tries, with Charlie still mourning the snake's death a month later. She even has a mini breakdown during the opening number about it.
And I'm never gonna cope from watching him get fucking murdered right in front of me last month. There's a bar!
But Charlie doesn't have to process it for long. By the end of the season premiere, an angel Charlie befriended in season 1 breaks her way into hell. Why? To reveal to her that, yes, the snake was redeemed, and now he's in heaven. And she learns that before she really has to grow and change. She doesn't need to think about the potential consequences of her actions. Instead, she gets to hear that her theory is proven. Then she spends most of the season trying her damnedest to get people to believe her, which I don't understand. She had already tried to make the case for redemption in season 1. She went to heaven and back, literally, to make her case about it. But the only people who believe in her are her partner Vaggie and the aforementioned angel. So when season 2 starts and she has the most important piece of evidence possible, her next move should not be, "Ha-ha! I was right all along! It's time for me to prove my case to the public!" She'd just look crazy. And well, that's what happens. To be fair, Charlie is clearly going through it. She displays a lot of manic behavior that I think stems from trauma from the season 1 finale. She has panic spikes when things don't go her way. She shows relentless optimism in the face of doubt. Hell, she works herself sick trying to get the angel to come back to the hotel using as much magic as she can muster up. It's clear something's wrong with her, but a lot of it is played for laughs. Which, while it resulted in one of the few good jokes of the season,
I thought Charlie said no more drugs.
it's disheartening that very few people actually seem concerned for her well-being. Vaggie does. She tries to talk her down from her mania, but everything Charlie does is just comedy, apparently. And I'm not saying that as some kind of humbug. Even the TV tropes page has moments where Charlie clearly needs some kind of intervention as funny moments. Let's go over some of them together! Yes, I know comedy is subjective, but with signs of, well, psychological distress and manic behavior, the framing matters.
In the song Speedrun to Redemption has Charlie putting Angel through the ringer. She gives him rapid fire commands of good deeds, gives up booze, dress modestly, feed the poor, change babies, help old ladies across the street, give to the poor. But since this is hell, some of Angel's good deeds translate to changing demon diapers, helping an old lady cross a dangerous hell street, etc. When that doesn't work, she says Angel has to do those all again, becoming more stressed and unhinged as the song goes on.
Do 1 through 9 again. Just in case the angels in charge didn't notice.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack with this one. Firstly, Charlie still has a very juvenile idea of how redemption works. That's something that appears in season 1 too. Remember that? When some bullshit sketch she made the hotel denizens perform was all anti-drugs and pro-abstinence? And I don't get it. I don't get why that would be Charlie's takeaway of how redemption works when even she doesn't know how it works. Why? Well, she's the literal princess of hell. She's exposed to cussing and premarital sex and drugs practically every day of her life. She's seen the exorcists swear and heard about them having premarital sex too.
And for some fucking reason, this virtue chick was digging on the drummer, and it's like, do you know who I am? You think you want drummer dick? No way. I'm the dick fucking master. So, anyway, and we fucked, and it was awesome.
So why is Charlie's takeaway still good behavior and optics means you get into heaven? Why does she think redemption is just dressing right, acting right, and being seen doing right? And again, we have Charlie acting in a worried manner. And yet again, it's a punchline. Angel's discomfort is the punchline. His exhaustion is the punchline. When, well, how would you feel if you were in his shoes during that song? Personally, I'd be very concerned for Charlie's well-being. That's not all. Charlie has to face off against libel and slander from this season's antagonists, the Vees. Boy, isn't that familiar? Given Charlie's very troubling behavior, of course she tries to fight it. Of course she thinks that with her can-do attitude, she can make them stop their evil bad-mouthing. Look, it makes sense given her character, but the issue is that the way she responds is played like a joke. Case in point, season 2, episode 4, the interview episode.
Charlie, in an attempt to correct the record about the Hazbin Hotel, unwisely asks for an interview with Katie Killjoy, and even more unwisely takes Nifty with her. When the interview starts to go south, she tries to get Nifty to explain why she loves the hotel. This leads to her having her famous 1,000-yard stare at the camera. Charlie then gets her to imagine the camera is a really big roach, letting out the manically ridiculous clean it up, wherein she declares that the place is covered with jizz, barf, bugs, piss, hypodermic needles, and she gets to clean it all up. And that she's treated like a queen by the rats because she stabbed so many that she's covered in their blood.
Why did Charlie agree to this? Why did she think this was a good idea? And I don't mean that rhetorically, because Charlie should know Katie Killjoy is not to be trusted. They interact in the pilot, which from my understanding is still canon, and in the pilot, Katie acts as she does in the show. She's openly hostile, she's cruel, she's sensationalist, she delights in humiliating her guests. Charlie has already experienced all of that firsthand.
What in the 9 circles makes you think a single denizen of hell would give 2 shits about becoming a better person?
Instead of treating this as Charlie knowingly walking her way into this shit because she feels she has no other option, the episode plays it as a gag. The humiliation is funny, the spiral is funny, the meltdown is funny, and that's gross. It should feel like Charlie repeating a known mistake under pressure. You know, instead of seeming like she's too stupid to remember her own history. But the show doesn't let that happen. And in the next episode,
Charlie tries to get Heaven's attention by shooting fireworks until she's exhausted. Unbeknownst to her, they've noticed her for quite a while via scrying?
Charlie is begging the universe to acknowledge her. And yet again, is played for laughs. A wow, look how hard she tries moment. It's just a fucking joke. And no, this doesn't last forever. Charlie's behavior does have consequences. We see that in episode 5. Vaggie gets so worried about her well-being, she asks Lucifer to do something about the Vees. To put it plainly, it does not end well, and Charlie gets upset at Vaggie for going behind her back.
He ruined everything is what happened thanks to him, and apparently you, Fox, was able to spin it. Again!
That's what Box does. I thought if your dad could at least get him to back down, you'd stop caring.
Well, why didn't you ask me?
Because you aren't listening to me. You're hyper-fixating on what he's saying about you.
Because he's hurting the hotel. He is ruining.
Charlie, you are hurting the hotel.
Finally, someone says it. But this action also has its consequences. Charlie spends the entirety of episode 6 being passive-aggressive to Vaggie, and I get why. From her perspective, Vaggie reinforced her biggest fear, that she's not capable of handling everything herself. Sure, I disagree with how Charlie handles it, but I understand it. Charlie just doesn't know how to articulate her feelings. And at the end of the episode, Charlie apologizes to her for her actions. She admits that she's been overdoing everything, but in the process has been driving everyone away. And for a moment, you think that there's going to be character development. You think that Charlie is going to realize the error of her ways. You think that we'll get a sweet, tender reconciliation between her and Vaggie. You think Vaggie would say something like, I wasn't trying to undermine you, I was trying to protect you. I'm sorry for going behind your back, but I really didn't know who else to ask for help but your father. I love you. I'm sorry. But then...
Shut up, you know that I love you, but that's enough of this spiral.
We do a complete emotional 180. Vaggie breaks out a song with beats and lyrics that are kind of inappropriate for the bearing of the heart Charlie just did.
Your hand, my hand, your body and mine, they can withstand the fire in line.
Look, the song sounds fine. I understand it's supposed to be a homage to 90s, 2000s Latin dance pop, but for the scene we just saw, it's tonally inconsistent. We don't need a sexy love song when Charlie has just made a big emotional revelation. And, well, that's my big issue with Charlie's character arc this season. Every time she gets close to growth, the show yanks her back into the status quo. Her insecurities and flaws get smoothed out before she can change. The reset button is pressed. Charlie learns nothing, and it makes me want to throw my computer out the window. Charlie is flawed. Charlie makes bad decisions that cost her reputation and make her situation worse. But that's not the problem. In fact, as I've said, most of her decisions make perfect sense given her fear, trauma, and the impossible pressure she's under. The problem is, the show will not let those flaws go anywhere. All of her blunders are played for laughs. All of her faults are cushioned with a joke, a song, or a pep rally. Her insecurity is acknowledged, then basically forgotten about. Her desperation is framed and then turned into an aesthetic. She spirals, the show laughs, they move on. Charlie Morningstar could have been an exploration of what happens when hope is forced to carry the weight of power, propaganda, and genocide-level stakes. Instead, she's trapped in a loop where her pain fuels the plot, but her growth would inconvenience it. And that's why I dislike Charlie's arc this season. They used to be partners, and the roles in this season are very similar, so I'm counting the snake and the fish as a single character. Yes, I know they both have names, but I'm going to keep calling the snake for continuity purposes. And because he used to be the snake's partner, the fish is the fish. As you might remember last season, the snake was one of the early hotel denizens. I didn't go much into his arc, but here's what you need to know. The snake sacrificed his life protecting the hotel from the exterminators. In doing so, he achieved redemption. He became the first redeemed sinner of ever. But of course, heaven is suspicious of him at first. Since they themselves don't know how a sinner can be redeemed, they assume the worst and imprison him. But for some reason, it takes them a month to actually get together and put the snake on trial. 1 month after the death of the top exterminator, the realization angels can be killed with their own weapons, and the idea that a sinner could be redeemed, the redeemed sinner is put on trial. Why? Couldn't they have done that, like, immediately? Is there no right to a speedy trial in heaven? No concept of urgency? No emergency tribunal? No, hey, maybe we should figure this out before everything explodes meeting? Regardless, the trial begins. A month later, for some reason. The snake tells his story. He openly admits to his worst sin. And what is that sin?
I was watching a woman wandering past my workshop, and then I saw... And I did nothing. I knew who did it, and I did nothing. That man went on to kill 5 more women. 5 more. I still did nothing.
Not stopping Jack the Ripper. Apparently. In all seriousness, this makes sense knowing what we know. The 7 deadly sins have a heavy presence in the Helliverse, and the snake sin here is... sloth? Yeah, I think it's sloth, since he didn't report who the killer was, even though he knew who it was. Yeah, it's sloth. And before he died, quote-unquote, in hell, the snake realized he couldn't repeat his past mistake. He stepped up. He sacrificed his life to save his friends, even when that sacrifice in practice was...
That could have been ugly.
But that doesn't matter. What matters is he's redeemed for finally intervening, thus negating the sin. Even the head of the trial says as such.
You cared more for the lives of others than your own, and made the ultimate sacrifice. You were able to atone.
But it's not all good news for the snake. Well, he's been accepted into heaven, he's isolated there. He's cut off from the friends he sacrificed himself for, unable to tell them he got redeemed. And this is where the show flirts with something genuinely interesting. The snake's redemption doesn't magically fix everything. He did the right thing, but he still lost everything familiar to him. That should hurt, and it does for about 5 minutes until the angels do a little song number about all the things that are good about heaven, while the snake repeatedly tries to kill himself in the background. And yes, it's played for laughs. Even TV Tropes says as such.
The snake shouts, "I'm coming, Teddy! I'll see you in hell!" as he powers up the drill, which then explodes and sends him flying. As the snake is trying to escape, the group sings, "No one here schemes like you, sheds skins of blasphemous like you," showing that they are all aware of what he's doing. They think it's a funny quirk of their new sinner-turned-winner pal. Black comedy example. As it dawns on him just how alone he is in heaven, the snake tries to shoot himself in the head with a pistol, only for it to shoot out harmless confetti, while Emily and company continue to sing obliviously. It's only by the end of the song where they see the snake curled up in a troubled fetal position that they realize maybe the singing wasn't actually helping.
Which is where I have to stop and go, okay, so we're doing this. We're doing the thing Hazbin Hotel keeps doing. It wants the aesthetic of maturity without taking any responsibility. Because let's review what we just went over. The snake got redeemed, but he's alone. He got cut off from the only people he has ever belonged to, and he can't even tell them that he got redeemed. Instead of exploring that, the show throws a song at you to try and make you forget. My main issue with the snake, though, isn't his character arc this season, it's his lack of one. Objectively, the snake has a lot of story potential that can be developed, but he isn't even that utilized. He disappears for 2 episodes, shows up for a song that changes nothing, and vanishes again until the finale. He's not treated like he's the most important piece of evidence in the redemption premise, which, you know, he is. So instead of exploring topics like Survivor's Guild, the fear of this reward is just another cage. The snake is given bit character duties until the end game. That's when he has to invent to prove to hell that he was redeemed. which he does. But with the snake doing hijinks in heaven, who's doing hijinks in hell? That brings us to a new character, the fish. And what can I say about the fish? Because there's nothing really to say about him. It's clear his sole purpose for existence is to fill the gaping hole the snake left behind when he got redeemed. The fish is only there because the writers wanted the function the snake used to serve in the ensemble, but without doing the work of keeping the snake emotionally present in hell. Much like the snake, he doesn't even do anything until the finale. And at the end of the day, you just look at the fish and think, why are you here? The only important thing you do is that you work with the snake to show a broadcast proving that he got redeemed, he's in heaven now, yay! So that's the snake and the fish. Or to put it more plainly, one character arc split into two bodies. The characters wanted to keep the snake's vibe in hell, while shipping the actual character off screen into heaven. The end. Now we get to Lute. And this is where the season reveals what it refuses to commit to. I didn't talk about her much in season 1, but that was because I didn't have much to say about her. She was overshadowed by her commander, Adam. Yes, the biblical Adam. Yes, we went over this. Keep up, keep up! But with Adam dead, Lute is lost. She lashes out during the snake's trial. She wants nothing more than to smite every sinner in her path because of what they did to Adam. Which, on paper, is actually interesting. But in the show, the writers don't know what to do with. Let's flash back to that trial. Lute is there. She's in pure rage mode. She doesn't care what the snake has to say for himself. Her position is simple. A sinner killed Adam, thus all sinners deserve annihilation.
All due respect, Seraphim, I was right about them. Adam was right about them. This demon filth is not to be trusted. He and his kind should all be dead.
That makes sense for her character. Her entire identity was built around an extermination doctrine. All the exorcists were, really. She doesn't know how to exist without it, and Adam was the ideological anchor of that worldview. And if a sinner can be redeemed, that means Adam was wrong. And if Adam was wrong, Lute has to confront what she's been doing all this time. But instead of exploring that dichotomy, we get some weird tension that I think is supposed to be funny between Lute and the guy who takes Adam's place as chief exterminator, Abel. Yes, the biblical Abel, played by that guy who's in Fallout Boy. I don't know his name, I'm sorry.
As head of...
Hey, Lute. Sorry to interrupt, but I think I'm actually the new head of the Exorcists. Sorry.
What?
Abel is nothing like Adam. He's meek, he's awkward, he's uncomfortable with violence, and this contrast of Lute could be genuinely interesting if utilized correctly. Lute was Adam's right-hand woman after all. You might have noticed something. I just described two potential forms of character development, or plot utilization. I think that's the word. She could have a crisis of conscience after Adam died and the snake was redeemed. She could have a showdown with Abel over whether the sinners are worth redeeming. She could even have expanded on the season 1 finale twist, where it's revealed that Charlie's mom Lilith was alive and in heaven this whole time.
Adam is dead. Your deal is done, and I'm in charge now. Your brat is threatening the very foundation of heaven. And if you want to stay here, you're going down there and stopping that bitch. You understand me? Lilith.
And that's on top of what happens later in season 2, episode 2. Lute is having a breakdown, a mental breakdown after what happened during the trial. And in her hour of need, a familiar voice comes.
Wow, someone's menstruating.
Lute is hallucinating Adam as a coping mechanism for her loss. The Adam hallucination even outright says it.
I'm in your head. Guess you missed me that much, huh? You crazy bitch.
And Adam, quote unquote, gives her resolve. Not good resolve, but resolve nonetheless. He reinforces the belief that sinners are irredeemable. Heaven was right, and the extermination is necessary. And she decides,
I'm going to kill every last one of them.
Which results in the most heavily hyped song of the season, Gravity. I'm not denying this song slaps a little. It's loud and aggressive, the vocals are strong, the Old Testament imagery is heavy-handed but very intentional and plays very well with Lute's character. It's about divine retribution as moral law, and it tracks for Lute's worldview. It's clear a lot of work went into this tune. But here's the deadly sin of this song, and Lute's entire character arc this season to boot. From everything I just told you, it sounds like Lute is going to be the main villain of this season, no? She's grieving. She just watched the foundational lie of extermination crack in real time. She hallucinates Adam as the embodiment of the old doctrines she cannot under any circumstances let go of. And then she gets a full-scale villain anthem about divine vengeance. Textbook villain development, if you ask me. But Lute isn't only not the main villain of this season, she doesn't even appear in a large part of the season. You can't give a character all of this weight, then relegate her to the narrative equivalent of a pop-up notification. Songs like Gravity are supposed to change the story, but after that song, Lute disappears for an entire episode. Her planned genocide against the sinners is hardly even acknowledged. She really only tries to go through with it in the end, and before she can do so, Fall Out Boy tells her off via song.
There's no cause for you better fall back.
And that thing about Lilith, about Lute going to order her to go down and put her bitch daughter or whatever in place, she doesn't even get to do anything with that. That gets squashed in episode 2 when she reveals to the higher-ups that she threatened her in the first place.
I told her to go down and stop her bitch daughter.
You had no authority.
Lute is forced to abort whatever plans she had for Lilith and lets her off the hook. Lilith doesn't have any more relevance until the very end of the season when she finally answers Charlie's calls. But that's besides the point. The point is that the show sets Lute up as a linchpin of multiple storylines, but she gets yanked out of the story the moment before she can actually act on any of them. She's at the intersection of every major idea this season claims to care about. Lute should be the character through whom all of that is felt. She should be the one unraveling under the weight of it. She should be the one forcing heaven to confront what it's done. But she's just there. Her rage never meaningfully collides with the plot. Every potential threat she could serve is either just immediately quashed or forgotten, which makes songs like Gravity all the more frustrating. As I said, this was one of the most hyped songs pre-season. It was plastered on all of Amazon's YouTube channels in every language the show is dubbed in, and they're still hyping it up with sing-along versions, live performance, everything. I have a theory. Lute was originally going to play a much bigger role this season, but they cut out most of her subplot to save time. But by then, they already had the song that they really liked, and they didn't want to hold off on it. And I have a bit of evidence for this. One of the show's producers has come forward to say that the writers wanted to make a villain song for Lute. Not only that, but that was one of the few things they all aspired to do when they sat down to write season 2.
Maybe the only thing we came into the writer's room with a goal was a Lute villain song. We were really energized to make this song. One recipe that makes it interesting is that Lute doesn't have a lot of singing time in season 1, but the singing time she does have in You Didn't Know is highly dynamic. People really responded to it.
First off, that singing in You Didn't Know was good, but the lyrics were garbage.
What are we even talking about? Some crack or who fucked up already?
And second, you can't just have a song for a song's sake. Yes, I know I've said that's one of my least favorite tropes in musical theater, but I stand by it. A musical number should have a purpose, whether it's to advance the plot, give us more insight into a character, or change the emotional trajectory of the story in a way that cannot be undone. Gravity does none of that. And look, if my theory is right, cutting that arc for time or for whatever other reason they could have is okay. You're not going to be able to get everything you want in your work, and sometimes you have to kill your darlings. But this song right here is one of those darlings. If Lute isn't going to enact her grand revenge in this season, it has no reason to exist. She can still be broken and frustrated over what happened in the season 1 finale. but do what I recommended to be done to the Vees originally in season 1. Leave them in the background until they play a part in the story. Why am I giving advice to a season that's already been out for months? Speaking of the Vees, there's a much better villain song later in the season that should have gotten the treatment Gravity got instead. It's a song tied to this season's true main antagonist. And fun fact, he and his posse are actually among the few things I loved about season 2. So let's switch gears for a bit and talk about what I enjoyed. For one thing, Vox was an incredible villain. I liked him as a main antagonist much more than Adam. I won't parrot my season 1 video to you, but my problem with Adam was that he was mostly a shock value character. Here you have the biblical Adam, and he's a sexist asshole. And that's supposed to be comedy. Sure, I guess it has a bit of novelty for the first few seconds, but it gets old fast.
Ha! I fucking got you. Did you fucking see that? Lute, how many demons did you kill this year? 275? Whoa! Badass! Awesome job, Danger Tits. Pound it. Then let's fucking see it, bruh.
Vox, on the other hand, is much more engaging. He's an overlord like Alastor, but has control over much of Hell's media ecosystem. He's powerful and he wants more! And learning that angels can be killed using their own weapons from Charlie gives him an idea.
We can use the hotel's reputation and Hell's renewed hope and start a hell-wide uprising against heaven with us at the top, huh?
That's right! He wants to encourage a mass uprising against heaven and use that to become the ruler of both heaven and hell. And he understands something fundamental that heaven, Charlie, and even most of hell don't fully grasp yet. That is, information spreads faster than armies ever could. Vox's genius is that he doesn't have to fabricate a villain out of Charlie. As you saw in the Charlie section, she accidentally does half of the work for him. We saw Charlie overexpose herself, walk willingly into hostile media environments to try and prove she's right, give said environments all the sound bites and visuals they need to paint her in a negative light. It's Charlie herself making herself look bad, and Vox is taking advantage of it. That's why Vox works as a villain. He targets all the prerequisites Charlie needs to make her goal possible. After all, redemption requires a community willing to believe that can happen. Vox can profit by making the entire concept of that seem stupid. And Vox's posse makes his villainy stand out more. You have Valentino, the rapist who abuses angel dust, and sometimes the show plays that for laughs. And you have Velvet, the social media overlord who's been the subject of some TikToks with a song that's obviously AI generated.
She's a doll with a twist, black-laced boots and a hit list. Smile sharp, mind insane, you're just a toy in her little game.
Regardless, I must address some things I said in my season 1 video. Because yes, I was way less receptive to the Vees at first. It seems like the writers got too excited characterizing the overlords. So what did they do? They put the plot on pause for a second just so they could introduce them. And as I said, Valentino's the only member of the Vees to actually have some importance in season 1. Why couldn't the other two be revealed in season 2 and be like the main antagonist for that season? My season 1 stance was basically, why are these people getting so much prominence when they aren't the main villains? Valentino makes sense because of his connection to angel dust, but Vox and Velvet? Seriously? As you can tell by my Vox glazing, my tune has changed. Why? Well, season 2 clarifies what the Vees are actually for. They are a system, a commentary on the day-to-day life in hell, how sinners can rise to the top or get exploited for trying. The first song of the season practically spells that out.
All these starring roles. We trademarked all your holes. There's no such thing as being totally overexposed. Hope you had fun, but we are done with you. Your run is canceled. We're finished. I'm not kidding. Get the fuck out of my building. Get the
And those segments contrast perfectly with Charlie's in the same song. Hers are all about, come on down to the happy old Hazbin Hotel. You can get redeemed, maybe. But still, the characters aren't perfect. Later in the season premiere, Vox chastises Valentino and Velvet for some of their shittier behavior, and it's not exactly justified.
Velvet, you can't just fuck with Carmilla Carmine in front of other overlords. It makes business harder.
Well, hey, you're lucky I didn't skin the bitch.
What Fox is referring to happened in Season 1, Episode 3. Velvet showed up solo to the Overlord meeting as a representative of the Vees. She basically insulted fellow Overlord Carmilla Carmine to her face, and Carmilla is like the most powerful Overlord? One of the oldest? I don't know. The show never really explains why she's the top boss. But that was, again, Season 1, Episode 3. There's a 6-month time skip a couple episodes later. And on top of that, there's a 1-month time skip between Seasons 1 and 2. That means roughly 7 months. 7 months have passed since the incident. Or long after it would be on the top of anyone's mind. Why bring it up now? We also get a not so subtle reference to the people like me who called out Valentino's abuse of angel dust being played as a joke in Season 1.
Who cannot keep hitting angel dust in public? It's... no, it's not. It's not funny anymore.
When have I ever hit him? You're obsessed with me.
You were hoping that the Helluva's crew would be more nuanced with Valentino. I'm sorry to have disappointed you. It even came back a few episodes, right after a joke I genuinely laughed at.
One smoothie, please.
Wow, I love it when right after a good joke we get back to forcing the aromantic asexual representation to undergo forced sexual humiliation at the hands of the people who hate him. That's just my favorite. But that's enough of the rapist. So let's get back to Vox. Remember how I said there was a better villain song the Helluva's crew could have used to promote the season? Well, it's a Vox solo that's sung in the penultimate episode. Brighter.
Brighter, brighter than the heavens in the skies above.
Here's why Brighter works where Gravity doesn't. First of all, Brighter is actually sung by the main antagonist. The lyrics detail his vision, his quest for power, his need for control, and his desire to be... What again, Vox? Thank you, Vox. This is what a villain song is supposed to do. It communicates motive, ideology, intent. Vox is telling us exactly who he is and what he wants. Second, the visuals are doing a lot of narrative work. Think back to Gravity. What was really going on? Despite Lute hallucinating Adam to harmonize with her, the song really is just her having a mental breakdown in his office, which, yeah, that works for the context of the song and Lute's character, but it's not really engaging aside from a few key shots. Meanwhile, Brighter gives us something far more interesting. Vox's human past. We see his humble beginnings as a weatherman on generic 1950s TV station. We see him kill his rivals as he climbed his way to the top of the television hierarchy, all the way to the point where he builds the cult-like influence that defines his character in hell. And third, it just sounds better, okay? The lyrics aren't genius. They're your standard Helluva's crew writing, but they do tell a story. But then again, anything is better than...
What are we even talking about?
Fox comes painfully close to reaching his goal. He manages to win the war on public information. He turns the entirety of hell against heaven by reminding everyone of one thing. The angels committed genocide. And then when confronted about it, their best attempt at diplomacy was... gift baskets. Yeah, to be fair, heaven kind of just handed him that one.
You are apologizing for genocide with gift baskets? Oh, you hear that, folks? These angels think our lives are worth really good tappies.
Vox understands something the rest of the cast doesn't. If he controls the narrative, he controls hell. The only reason Vox loses is because Charlie and the others prove that the snake was redeemed, and thus that redemption is possible. Yeah, the way they do so is quite contrived, but I'm trying my best not to nitpick. The angels could have destroyed the snake the entire time. Why does it need to be a broadcast from heaven? Could someone at home go to heaven and prove it? Could someone just... And besides, it's far from the worst plot element this season. But, there is one complaint I have about Vox. One that doesn't play as big a part as I thought it would, but one that made me roll my eyes so hard I almost saw actual heaven. What is it? Well, they revealed why Vox hates Alastor so much, and it's the most embarrassing, petty high school theater kid grudge imaginable. Back in the 50s, I'm assuming from how the flashback looks, Vox and Alastor were on relatively even footing. Hell, they were even friendly with each other. Friendly enough that Vox actually pitched Alastor a partnership. Yes, like the Yowies I keep hearing about.
So, I've been thinking, Alastor, with your incredible power and my massive influence, we would be unstoppable. Radio and video. Me and you, we could rule hell. Together.
How does Alastor respond? By laughing in his face and calling him pathetic and weak for even asking. The Vox goes all, "I thought we were friends!" To which Alastor responds with, "Friends? Friends? You don't need any friends in hell! Fuck you!" Cue the rivalry beginning. Like, yeah, Alastor was mean about it, but come on. Why is this bad? It shrinks down Vox's motives. They become far less complicated and simply become, "He rejected me, so he must pay." It would be more interesting if they were ideological or structural. Maybe Alastor could have betrayed Vox. Maybe their falling out was about who truly had control over Hell's information networks. Like, there are so many more interesting ways to take this, and they went with the most cliched one, even if it was Yowie. Look, I get it. Vox is insecure. He wants validation. He can't stand being laughed at, especially by the twink he likes. I'm just saying, it's boring. It achievements Alastor too, because it turns their dynamic into the smug rejector and the bitter rejected. Anyway, enough about Vox's humiliating 1950s rejection trauma via Alastor. Let's talk about Alastor himself. Remember how I complained about Alastor's allegiances being confusing last season? Well, they fixed that. Here, Alastor is purely acting out of his own self-interest, and that makes him a much more compelling character. But part of why Alastor is acting out of his own self-interest is because of what caused him to vanish. Or, well, more so, who caused him to vanish. Again, content warning because holy shit, the racism aspect did not get any better. So Alastor's mysterious superior, who was mentioned a couple times in season 1, her name is Rosie. She was a minor character beforehand, but I didn't really talk about her in my season 1 video because, well, I didn't think she was important enough to bring up. But she is now! Rosie is another one of the overlords in Hell. She's a clear homage to characters from the golden age of Broadway. The Music Man, Oklahoma, My Fair Lady, so on and so forth. And there's a common theme in these musicals. It's the turn of the century in a white American settlement. White actors play small town white people. They act out white nostalgia for a time before black music became a popular thing. To be clear, I'm not shading those musicals themselves. They're hugely influential pieces of theater history, and many modern revivals cast diverse performers or even reinterpret the material for modern audiences. My point here is that Rosie is very clearly coded as a white turn-of-the-century American theater archetype, and she has control over Alastor, who is canonically mixed-race Creole. It gets worse. Alastor, you see, spent season 2 at only like half of his full power. He took some major hits during the fight against the exterminators. As a result, he's less inclined to help the hotel, so he goes to Rosie to ask her if she can fix him up. You know, because she owns his soul. It culminates in this.
You forget, you are my pet.
Oh, where do we begin with this? I guess we do it bit by bit. Now, those lines are already uncomfortable on their own, but it gets worse when you remember that White Rosie is singing them to Black Alastor. Why does that combination matter? Because comparing black people to animals has a very long and ugly history. For centuries, racist pseudoscience and propaganda portrayed people of African descent as animals. And not in a spiritual animal way either, which is also problematic, but that's for another time. They portray black people as closer to animals than to other humans. They were compared to apes or beasts as a way to justify slavery and violence. And that imagery wasn't just theoretical. Newspapers routinely described black people as beasts, brutes, or gorilla-like to strip them of their humanity. That kind of animalization was a central tool of racial dehumanization, and we're still dealing with the side effects of that to this day. So when a white-coated character sings to a black one that he's, quote, in her zoo, that's not necessarily a good look. I need to be very clear here. I'm not accusing the show of intentionally writing a racist seed. That's a serious accusation to make, and I'm obviously not the right person to pass that judgment. But did nobody stop to reread the lyrics? Did nobody in the writing room pause for a minute and think, hey, maybe the song where a white-coated character sings about cages, pets, and ownership to a black-coated character might have some unfortunate implications? Because this is a white-coated Broadway star singing about owning a black Creole man. And to make it clear, yes, this season explicitly confirms that Alastor is a mixed-race Creole man from New Orleans. He even gets a short human flashback, which is woefully inaccurate. Remember, I live in Louisiana as of this recording. I was born here. I'm Cajun. It's not the same thing as Creole, but I know this state's sordid history. We already went over how Alastor couldn't have been a radio host in the 1930s. The radio barrier wasn't broken until at least a decade later with Vernon Dr. Daddy-O Winslow, but I guess I didn't explain just how difficult it would have been for Alastor to actually become a radio host in that time. At least if this innocent Tumblr ask I had to answer says anything.
Also, couldn't Alastor be anonymous? Like in the show, he's known as the radio demon, and it seems like not everyone knows who he is.
Before he became a radio host, Vernon Dr. Daddy-O Winslow had to teach white disc jockeys how to sound black. So, no. Yes, really. Early American radio was so racist that black characters were often voiced by white performers. Make of that what you will. Anyway, I won't go over all the other ways Louisiana was notoriously racist during Alastor's lifetime. I already did that whole ramble in my season 1 video. But I can discuss everything inaccurate with Alastor's backstory, starting with appropriation of voodoo imagery to paint Alastor as some spooky supernatural serial killer. This is a topic I've covered in depth before, but it's at least halfway through a 4-hour video that has nothing to do with Hazbin Hotel, so I'll reiterate my point here. Voodoo is what's called a syncretic religion. It's a blend of West African spiritual traditions and Roman Catholicism. It's centered around communication with spirits known as Iwa. Those spirits act as intermediaries between humans and the creator deity Bonje. But all that shit you keep seeing in pop culture, voodoo dolls, evil curse rituals, animal sacrifices to make the plants grow or whatever, most of those are Western sensationalization. And yes, they did indeed come out of racism. Hell, the symbols showed around Alastor's shack aren't even proper voodoo symbols or Vees. They're kind of just fantastical sigils for dramatic effect. They're shorthand for spooky ritual energy. My point here is that the show is using voodoo and spiritual traditions like it to paint Alastor as a violent, scary serial killer. The close-ups of his creepy swamp cabin, his bloody murders, the bloody pentagram, the alligator skull. Why? I could also discuss how New Orleans was absolutely not integrated in the way the show describes in the 1930s, or how Alastor would have been discriminated against for not just being mixed race, but also for speaking French. But all that pales in comparison to the whole voodoo thing, and it's just Why borrow it if you're going to strip it of historical context and consequence? It's a shame because I enjoyed Alastor's character arc this season. He acts out of his own self-interest to stick it to Vox and get out of his contract with Rosie. He's even able to use the little favor he asked from Charlie in season 1 to help him in his goal. He finally became the totally neutral character I hoped he could be, and it was entertaining. Contrast with season 1 where his motivations are all over the place. Sure, I guess the show wanted him to be ominous and unknowable, but he mostly came off as inconsistent. Sometimes he was a troll, but sometimes he was a key ally. But here, Alastor starts up his Batman Gambit, a thing where he's very clearly trying to get out of his deal while making sure he can defeat Vox once and for all. He makes a deal with him, and Vox is egotistical and narcissistic enough to take him at his word. Alastor thus remains a willing prisoner of Vox while biding his time to get out of both those deals. And he does! And it's glorious!
We can finally settle this once and for all.
But Alastor isn't even the one who got it the worst in this season. Oh, Anthony. Oh, Angel Dust. My poor, poor Angel Dust. Had I known what the writers were going to do to you, I would have been so much nicer to you in the first video. You may remember I wasn't fond of him in season 1, and that was because the writers didn't seem to know what to do with him. On one hand, he was the village quagmire. He was hooking up with sinners left and right and showing porn of himself to the hotel denizens without their consent. Yeah, don't do that. That's like totally out of line. On the other hand, he was a clear victim of abuse at the hands of Valentino. Of course, as you saw earlier, that abuse is still played for laughs from time to time, and remember, you can't have both. You can't have a character that engages in disgusting behavior for shock value, then force us to sympathize with him. But I'd argue that season 2 was the worst to Angel Dust. And it's a shame. He seemed to be improving. I wanted to like him. He was the source of some of the moments where I genuinely laughed.
Hey, have you ever heard of a blobfish?
What?
Check this out. How cute is that?
Why are you like this?
And it's not just that. For the first time, we're shown him starting therapy and gradually opening up in ways he never did before. We hear that he's trying to get clean. We see more sides of him, like his drag queen persona. Though I will admit the concept design looked a lot better than the final product. In the grand scheme of things, it looks like he's started to take redemption at least somewhat seriously. He's at the very least working to better himself. Let's contrast a scene I definitively hated in season 1 with one I enjoyed in season 2. Both involve Angel Dust speaking with the cat. Again, I know he has a name, but we're just gonna call him the cat. In season 1, the scene was god-awful. The cat sings a song that amounts to, "Suck it up, Buttercup, everyone's lives suck," after Angel Dust was essayed and forced to tell Charlie, who he does seem to care about, contrary to what he would say, to fuck off at the orders of Valentino, making her cry.
Val, you really think you can have Lucifer's little bitch fight your battles for you?
But they finally have another one-on-one in season 2, episode 6. The cat is unsure if he wants to stay at the hotel because of Charlie's erratic behavior and because he was really only there because of Alastor, who, as we established, is being held captive by Vox at this point. They have a heart-to-heart about what happened in episode 3, and Angel seems willing to make amends with him. And the scene works because they're on equal footing this time. The cat isn't dismissing Angel's suffering. Angel is just doing another day's work.
I'm just not worth saving. This here's what I'm meant for. Just a sad drunk at a bar.
And I'm just a sex worker in a dress whose lunch was 3 cigarettes. To be nice.
And it ends with the cat thinking, maybe there is a place for me after all in that shitty hotel. And he decides to go back. After all, Angel Dust is gonna be there, right? They seem to get along well. Alas, in that very same episode, they completely destroy Angel's character arc. They take away any sense that he could have had autonomy in the first place. And it also retroactively makes season 1 even worse as well. How? I'll explain. Angel Dust goes to an escort job. Vox is there. They have a little fight. It's the obligatory gay prostitute gets beaten up scene we need to have every season, apparently. But then Vox ruins everything for everyone.
Oh, poor little Angel Dust. How do you think I was always one step ahead of the princess? Or how I knew the angels were coming? Think back. Any late night jobs you can't quite remember? There wasn't a moment I haven't been watching.
Charlie ain't looking too good under pressure.
We did it!
Yep! Angel Dust was brainwashed into doing the Vees bidding this entire fucking time! And I'll be honest, I've been trying to stay calm, but this pisses me off! For so many reasons! Firstly, the logistics don't hold up. The show wants us to believe Vox needed Angel as a sleeper agent to know things like the Angels coming earlier than expected. 666 News reported on the impending Angel invasion shortly after Adam told Charlie about it in the first episode of season 1, and considering Vox probably has cameras and microphones everywhere, he could have definitely overheard something without using Angel. Furthermore, in the second episode of that season, Valentina was nearly inconsolable when Angel Dust moved to the hotel and wanted to shoot it up.
He thinks he can just walk in here, work, and then go home somewhere else.
Not to mention that Vox didn't know Alastor was there until Val told him. If Vox was using Angel Dust as a spy, wouldn't Valentino have known that and would be cooler about Angel Dust being there? And how would Vox not know Alastor was there before? He's been there since the pilot. They both have. Second, this reveal destroys Angel Dust's agency. If Angel was brainwashed from the start, that changes a lot of his behavior. His season 1 self-sabotage is no longer survival behavior or a trauma response. And his conflict between his loyalty to the hotel and loyalty to Valentino is no longer complicated. Again, I didn't like Angel Dust as a character in season 1, but I found his concept interesting. A morally conflicted sex worker trapped in an abusive relationship that he can't get out of. A man caught between survival instincts and the desire to be better. But instead of clarifying his motivations or strengthening him, the show sidesteps Angel Dust's character development with an oops, all brainwashed reveal. And that is far less interesting than a flawed person making bad decisions for complicated reasons. And since the Vees kidnap and brainwash Angel Dust again anyway, it's pointless. They clearly needed him again to deal the final blow to Charlie and her hotel, but they didn't need him to be their mole. The snake was already their first mole. Or, you know, Valentino could have just forced Angel Dust to betray the hotel. He definitely has enough agency over him to do that. Imagine Angel Dust is blackmailed by the Vees to do their bidding publicly. Maybe the safety of his friends is threatened, or he feels forced to comply. That makes him speaking out against the hotel later on and getting back into his hedonistic behavior more believable. That would even explain the ending of his character arc this season better. In the season finale, Angel Dust is rescued from his brainwashing by the cat and Cherry Bomb, but not without almost killing the latter first. And Angel is so guilty of what he did while under the influence that he goes back to his abuser. Willingly.
Angie, what the fuck are you talking about? You're free now.
I'm not. I never was. I mean, do you have any idea what they made me do? They had me ratting on the hotel for, I don't even know how long. You're not safe around me.
Oh, that's bullshit.
And yes, that's tragic, but here's the problem. If what he did was the result of hypnosis, then the guilt is misaligned because he wasn't in control of himself. Now imagine the alternative. Imagine he was coerced, blackmailed, or threatened. Valentino says, "You do this or your friends suffer." Now, Angel's actions come out of desperation. He's in full control of his actions and behavior. That can culminate in the same ending for him, where he willingly returns to Val because he feels like a monster. And who knows? He might be. And that difference is everything. Season 2 could have made Angel Dust a man crushed by impossible choices. Instead, it turned him into a puppet. And that's why he had the worst arc of them all. And yeah, that's the end of the whole mess. What else am I supposed to say about it? You know, I came home from Austin in a good mood. I got to see an F1 race. I got to see Max Verstappen win in person. And I remember sitting down on my computer and seeing that season 2 was dropping and thinking, okay, maybe they figured it out and it'll be good this time. And there were moments where it almost was. You had Vox, you had Brighter, you had that scene between Angel and the cat in episode 6. Charlie flinches. The show flinches with her. Angel almost chooses himself. The show takes that choice away. Lute almost burns everything down, but the show puts her in a drawer. The end! I'll be back for season 3. Apparently that's just who I am now, but I'm not coming back hopeful. I guess I'll be coming back because someone has to watch I guess I'll be coming back because someone on this godforsaken website needs to watch carefully and critically how low Hazbin Hotel will go. And I guess that person is me. That's it. That's literally all I have to say.